It's really interesting how just colors, no sound, can affect everything, isn't it? That's color psychology, or the theory of colors. This is a collection of psychological studies based on how humans see color and how it can affect things like mood and even decisions. Well, what does it all mean? Think about it. When you walk into a store, what's the first thing you usually notice? Probably the logo color, right? This is always an intentional choice by brand developers based on what they want to communicate with their customers immediately. Consider a store chain like Walmart that primarily uses blue. The reason why Walmart uses blue is because cool tones tend to be more calming and relaxing, while warm tones like red are vibrant and expressive but are also high energy. Walmart's relaxing blues are meant to draw you in to shopping longer. Haven't you ever noticed how even a simple trip to the store can suddenly seem like it takes hours? Color psychology is one possible reason why. This is where we get the idea of the color wheel: cool and warm tones, complementary colors, or even primary, secondary, and even tertiary colors. And according to proponents of this theory, every color has a distinct meaning. Primary colors refer to red, yellow, and blue. We've all heard that since kindergarten. These are colors that can't be made by mixing other colors together. Red's distinction in color theory is one of passion, emotion, and power. As a warm tone, it can stand for fire, danger, destruction, but also for love. Red is one of the most appealing colors to be eaten. Think of juicy red meat or a bright red apple, even a can of Coca-Cola. When you think of red, you think of blood or action. Maybe you like red because you have a competitive streak or sports cars. Speaking of which, did you know it's actually more expensive to own a red car? That's a myth, at least according to official statements from the Insurance Information Institute. Blue is a calm and cool tone, intellect, trust, and loyalty. Many types of medical institutions use blue as a color to inspire feelings in people. Blue can also be used for water and the sky to communicate vast horizons and peaceful drifting, ASMR type things. Ironically, blue is also the least appetizing color. This is because it's rare to encounter edible things in nature that are naturally a blue color. Like, blueberries aren't blue, they're purple. And blue raspberry straight up doesn't exist. It's purely synthetic. This white bark raspberry? Also purple. It just looks blue. Deceptive, I know. Yellow is a cautious color, a symbol of warning of danger, or a warning that an item you really want to buy might soon become impossible to find. It's also a bright and freeing color that represents optimism, smiley faces, and emojis, happiness, innovation, and instinct. Characters in yellow might always be energetic. Yellow, or blonde, hair is considered to be the most heroic color, although it's most typically attributed to a Eurocentric attitude that centers the blonde-haired, blue-eyed male as ideal. But color theory can have differences depending on culture, gender, age, and race. Still, yellow might signify wealth as it's the color of gold, but is also often used to convey a sunset, sunrise, or arid climate. The secondary colors are purple, green, and orange. They're called secondary colors because their existence is owed to the mixing of two primary colors. Purple is a color of regal bearing, usually because of the other connotations of wealth, decadence, and sophistication. We have evidence of purple being used to signify royalty going all the way back to the 6th century BCE, where Persian kings like Cyrus the Great made purple part of the royal uniform. During this time, and all the way up through the 4th century, in the Common Era of Rome, the use of Tyrian purple dye was restricted by sumptuary laws, mostly due to how expensive the dye was to create, using sea snails. Most blue foods, as we said, are actually purple in nature. Purple is also associated with moodiness, reflection, and wisdom, spirituality, and understanding. Green is a cool tone associated with health, hope, and freshness. We think of green and we think of money, or trees, plants, and health food. Green can be a calming color, or it can be a competitive opposite to red. Stop and go, for instance. Green is also a color associated with trickery and cleverness, or in some cases with courage and growth, either literally, as with plants, or philosophically in matters of character and maturity. Green characters are often confident and sure, adventurous and friendly. Green also stands for envy and was popularized in Shakespeare's Othello, where the character Iago warns Othello, "Beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds on." Though many attribute this to the story of Cupid and Psyche, those interpretations are actually more modern than Shakespeare's plays. Another courageous color is orange, a shorthand for friendliness and creativity, you don't say, of warmth and energy. Sometimes it can mean deprivation, ignorance, sluggishness, or immaturity. But wait a minute. Hey, I am not immature! Just because I like taunting Bree sometimes, that's just our relationship. Ugh, frustrating. Anyway, I guess orange tones can also showcase a character who's disaffected or something, but I don't really think I'm much like this whole thing suggests. Hey, no post-noting my videos like that. If anything, I'm fighting ignorance by constantly educating myself and YouTube. So there, I bet you won't find any other VTubers who are willing to admit that. Okay, look, let's move on from that. Tertiary colors, or intermediate colors, are colors formed between one primary color and an adjacent secondary color on the color wheel. Typically, these colors in color psychology blend the nuances of their parent colors. Blue-green will share aspects of both blue and green. Red-purple will share aspects of both red and purple, and so on. However, there are a few other unique colors called composite colors as well. Composite colors are what you get from mixing complementary colors, or colors that are opposite from each other, on the color wheel. In art, composite colors are great for doing backgrounds because of the temperature balancing and mixing of warm and cool tones. Russet is a composite color mixing orange, purple, red, and brown. It's also one of my favorites, along with adventuring. The most common example of a composite color is the color brown. And brown in color psychology has historically been associated with the earth and protection, the color of wood and stones which built early houses. It's a color that suggests stability, practicality, and comfort, though in some cases it can also be used to indicate a character of modest living or of little means. The exact opposite of purple's decadent richness. In many cases, brown is considered a background color, but can also be used to create a character that is common and average enough for a broad number of people to identify with, which is why this is usually the default color selection for things like hair or eye color in most video games where character customization options are limited. When you think of modest characters, look no further than our own Tim Rose, who is a very mild-mannered tailor compared to his wife and daughter. Pink is more of a tint of red than a color in place on the color wheel, though it could be seen as a composite color of white, red, and purple. While it's associated with femininity in modern terms, traditionally pink was considered a color for young males due to its close proximity to red. Because of this, it was seen as a stronger and more vibrant color, and colors like these have a habit of coming out strange on YouTube. I'll have a video explaining that more in depth in the not-so-distant future. Pink is quirky, imaginative, and caring. It gets that passionate aspect from the red parent color, but can also be seen as spiritual and decadent from the purple parent. Interestingly enough, pink can also be used to suggest a sense of practicality and reflection. The last colors I wanted to mention are often not considered colors at all, but hues that modify existing colors. These are, of course, white, gray, and black. White is the color associated with innocence, purity, and cleanliness. That cleanliness can also have a sense of sterility if used in excess that can lead to an empty or liminal feeling. Characters wearing white may be seen as simplistic, decisive, and confident, but also as cautious, serious, and distant. White can be used to inspire feelings of cold because of snow, or intense light. What's interesting about white is that it can be both the combination of all colors through the light spectrum, or the absence of all color through the color wheel. Black is white's polar opposite. Sophistication, security, and power are key words to think of when a character, building, or logo is colored in black. It could stand for symbols of authority, oppression, and menace. As an opposition to white, which is usually symbolized the day, black is considered evil for its association with the dark and with night. Because of this, it has taken on a darker meaning in some cultures to be a color associated with mourning or honoring the dead. Goth subculture uses black and white constantly to balance out this duality, along with shades of gray. Gray is an interesting color because it technically counts as a composite of white and black. Lighter shades of gray tend to lean more toward the white parent color, while darker tones lean more towards black. It's the color of compromise and control, neutral, conservative, and unemotional, solid like rocks or metal. The purpose of a character in gray would be someone who doesn't draw too much attention to themselves, like a lawyer or teacher, but as someone who is meant to offer intellect, maturity, and insight. It's also the color of storms and dark clouds. When used in this way, gray can indicate loneliness, sadness, and working through grief. And so where did it all come from? Color theory was proposed back in 1810, Wolfgang von Goethe. If the name sounds familiar, it's because he was the German poet who popularized the story of Faust. And even though Faust was written in 1772 initially, we can see evidence of Goethe's use in color theory in the character Mephistopheles. Following Goethe's stage directions, Mephistopheles is often depicted in red clothing as an intentional choice. He tempts, entices, and stimulates desires. He represents destruction and corruption. He is elegant, confident, and persuasive. Witty, yet also cynical. As character both in text and on stage, Mephistopheles is a character that commands attention. Goethe saw colors differently than people like, for instance, Sir Isaac Newton. Newton's theory of colors focused on the light spectrum, physics, and different visual wavelengths. Goethe's color theory was initially written in opposition to Newton's ideas. Newton began his experiments on color in the 1660s, using prisms to study refracted light. This was built off of a long-held belief proposed by Aristotle, who developed the first known theory of color. By Aristotle's claims, colors came from white and black. He then related these colors to the four elements of water, air, earth, and fire. Sound familiar? What Newton was able to prove is that light had refractability and that certain colors could be isolated in the light spectrum in order to show a rainbow of color. He wrote this all down in 1704 and titled it Optics. So by the time of Goethe, Newton's theories on color were widely accepted among physicists and many scientific fields. It held that colorless white light is split into its component colors when directed through a prism. Goethe's first theory of color was written in 1793 and contained the following. Along with the rest of the world, I was convinced that all the colors are contained in the light. No one had ever told me anything different, and I had never found the least cause to doubt it, because I had no further interest in the subject. But how I was astonished as I looked at a white wall through the prism, that it stayed white, that only where it came upon darkened area it showed some color. Then at last, around the windowsill, all the colors shone. It didn't take long before I knew here was something significant about color to be brought forth, and I spoke as through an instinct out loud that Newtonian teachings were false. Now I have to be honest. This is where physics behind light started to lose me, even after I tried to have Andrew explain it. So I can't really go into it much further, but I find it very interesting, especially since Faustian deals are such a big part of our series, and I'd gone over Goethe before, without actually knowing this. What is important for me in Goethe's theory is how it has gone on to influence the arts. Painters like Philip Runge, J.M.W. Turner, the Pre-Raphaelites, Hilma of Klint, and Wassily Kandinsky notably were inspired by Goethe's color theory, and it continues to be used by artists today, including myself. It's used in advertisements, building designs, clothing choices, sports teams. The next time you stop to take in the colors around you, challenge yourself to think how it makes you feel, what associations you get from it, and whether or not you control the way that Pepsi can seems to be staring at you saying, "Drink me!" See you guys next week. Now's the time where I push the Patreon page. Patreon is the best place for you to support us directly. There are a lot of available extras that keep you entertained, including extra chapters of Monomyth and some hints to future projects as well. Right now, indie artists like us need all the support we can get, and everything you give helps keep this story and this channel alive. Ultimately, it's up to every one of you that shows up each week to watch our videos, and I really can't thank you enough. For those of you who've joined us on Patreon, I'd like to give a shout out to Emily Mastronardi, Heinrich28, Pammy Poo, JC Moreland, Shadow Fox, Charles Tam, Arya Gabari, and Lunder Lumen. Also a big shout out to our channel members. Chain Furry. You can become a channel member and get access to my weekly content before anyone else. Many a Meko Maxamuckle. That means many small things make a big thing.